Hey guys, today I'm going to make a bold prediction. Today is Sunday, August 9th, 2020, and Joe Biden is expected to name his vice presidential pick this upcoming week between Monday and Friday. My guess it'll be earlier in the week so he can get a lot of news coverage on it. So I know a lot of my viewers hate when I talk politics. That's not why you subscribe or you come to watch. You want to see my take on religions from a former evangelical's perspective on Catholicism and evangelicalism. And I promise you we're going to get back to our sacrament series. We still have the sacrament of marriage, which is a very powerful sacrament, and the last rites, which is commonly known as last rites, but I believe it's the anointing of the sick is the actual term the church uses now. But I promise you, and we're going to get in there, and I'm going to show you in the Bible, and we're going to do it like we do, like a Bible study. You can follow along. But I mean, we got maybe 3 months to the election, and lots riding on this. Every election year, you hear this is the most important election of our lifetime, and usually I'm like, yeah, right. It's it's hyperbole. But this one, I actually believe it. I mean, we have a clear choice between capitalism and protecting our religious freedoms to, honestly, a slide towards socialism where religious freedoms will be under attack. Euthanasia and infanticide will become common ground if these people have their way. I mean, this is as far as it could be. This isn't, Republican light, Democratic light. This is capitalism versus socialism, religious freedom versus tyranny. I honestly believe that. So this is why I'm giving my 2 cents for what it's worth. But today I'm going to make my predictions, and predictions are fun because if I get it right, you guys will think I'm really cool. If I get it wrong, I promise you I will delete the video and in 6 months you'll forget about it. But I'm 99% sure, just based on watching how these politicians operate. To me, politics is like a sport, and I watch these guys, and I kind of got a feel for it. And I'm going to make my prediction right now. I'm going to tell you why he picked her at the end. I'm going to tell you why he picked her, and why I think it was a miscalculations, and it's the wrong pick. And then I'm going to tell you why he didn't pick the three candidates that all the news is talking about. So here it goes. My prediction is Joe Biden will select Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer as his vice president. Okay. Now, before I get into all their flaws, I just want to qualify this by saying, when I make my videos, I try really hard as a Catholic Christian not to attack people personally. Even like when I talk about Protestant churches, I try and keep it to their theology, why their theology is wrong. And with politicians, I think we should do the same thing, not personally attack them. But sometimes it's hard, and the Bible says we all fall short of the glory of God. Actually, what St. Paul is saying is he says in another part, we miss the mark. Basically, like Jesus is perfect, he's the bullseye, he's the mark, but we always miss it. And the Bible says if you say you're without sin, you're a liar. So I'm going to confess I am not without sin, and I miss the mark when I get into politics. But I'm going to do my best not to make it personal, okay? And in fact, today is just my opinion, why he didn't pick these candidates that every news organization, CNN, Fox, NBC, ABC, they all said the top 3 candidates were Kamala Harris, Karen Bass, and Susan Rice. Now, Kamala Harris, you would think he would pick her because she's very, very articulate, very well-spoken, very likable personality, and people generally, you have people on both sides that know their ideology, but the people that make the final decision is that 10% in the middle that really have no ideology. They just vote for the person they like. Kamala Harris has a very likable personality. She senator from California. She has experience. So and she's African American, so that crosses that box because we know the Democrats are all about identity politics. They pit race against race, economic, social status against economic, social status, and that's their political game plan. I'm not saying I'm trying not to attack personally, but that is their strategy. So you would think African American, that would check the box, because with everything going on with Black Lives Matter, people are getting really mad. So Joe Biden's base, they count on the African American vote. They normally get 90% of the vote every election. But he won't pick her. In my opinion, she's off the list. Number one, she really doesn't help him with any state because she's from California. California's a slam dunk. It's not even in play. Trump probably won't even go there. He won't spend any money in California. So she doesn't bring a state. Number two, in the first Democratic debate, she pointed out that Joe Biden was a segregationist, and he tried to spin it why he was a segregationist, but she basically called him out as a racist. Now, that wouldn't stop him because he holds a personal grudge. These politicians care more about power than personal grudges. If he thought that she could help him win the White House, he wouldn't give a crap about that. But his campaign knows that the Republicans can play that ad over and over again where Kamala Harris is calling him a racist on national TV. So that's one reason he won't pick her. Another reason is while she was a prosecutor in California, she bragged about how she put away people for 20 years for pot. She was an extreme prosecutor. She always gave the max. She tried to get the max. So there's people today sitting in jail for smoking pot when she laughed on a national radio show that she smoked pot when she was younger. I thought it was funny. Well, it's not funny to the guys sitting in jail and their wives don't know how to pay the bills. So even his base, when they find that out, they will be mad. And they may not vote for Trump, but they're not going to be too enthusiastic about voting for Biden. So I crossed Kamala Harris out off the list. Then Karen Bass, another likable, mild-mannered African-American congressman from California. Again, California brings nothing to the table. They already got California. But the number one rule in picking a vice president is do no harm. Don't pick someone that could hurt you because, the vice president could help a little bit, but it could hurt you a lot. Well, she's on video praising Fidel Castro, praising several other communist leaders. There's no doubt that in her younger years in politics, she was a communist. There's no argument. She says she changed and matured and knows better now. But that will destroy, his campaign. So forget about Karen Bass. Then you have Susan Rice. Out of all the other candidates than Gretchen Whitmer, I think she would have been the best choice. Very brilliant woman. I believe she has a PhD. She was in Obama's cabinet. Very, very smart woman. Very together. But she's got a few things wrong with her as well. Number one, she's never ran for office. So nobody knows how she's going to do when she's under attack. Nobody knows how she's going to do when she's in a debate. And she will be under attack because if you watch the movie 13 Hours, which I highly recommend, great. If you like war movies and action, 13 Hours is one of my best movies. It's a true story about Benghazi, how Susan Rice, Hillary Clinton, Obama, and Biden allowed this ambassador to Benghazi to die. They didn't want to send help because they didn't want a big international thing. They were more worried about the optics and the politics than saving American lives. The movie doesn't get into the politics at all. It really doesn't. There's no politics in the movie. But if you know the story and you know that Susan Rice came out and lied about it at least a dozen times on national TV, and it's proven she lied, and then how she lied about spying on President Trump and his campaign, and that's come out, and right now that's under investigation. The Attorney General has said that he knows that the Obama administration spied on the Trump campaign. They just have to find out if it was legal or not. That's what they're investigating now. So you don't want in the middle of a campaign all these indictments coming out surrounding your vice president. So Susan Rice is off the list. So that would leave Gretchen Whitmer or Elizabeth Warren. Elizabeth Warren would excite the socialists in the party that he has to keep together, but he really doesn't have to keep them together because he's already taken on Bernie Sanders and AOC's socialist agenda. He said he's all for the new Green Deal. He brought Beto O'Rourke to be his gun czar, to take away people's Second Amendment rights. I mean, he's talking like a socialist these days. So he really doesn't need Elizabeth Warren. And again, she brings Massachusetts, which is a slam dunk. He doesn't gain anything by getting her in. And plus, she has some baggage too. She was caught lying about being part Native American. She actually apologized to the Native Americans. So she could do him harm. So the logical choice would be Gretchen Whitmer, another likable woman, governor of a very important state. Trump barely won Michigan, and nobody thought he could win Michigan. If he wins Michigan again, there's no way Biden can win. Biden's got to win Ohio, Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, what they call the Rust Belt. And Michigan is a key. And so she's governor of Michigan, so she was voted in once, so it's a good chance all those people will vote for Biden because she's his vice president. And he's got a strategy. Every campaign's got a strategy. His strategy is to come back to decency, governance. You know, he's trying to portray Trump as a wild man who has no order, and he's just shooting from his hip. And he's going to have a mature vice president who actually governed. See, these other three that I mentioned, or other four, if you count Elizabeth Warren, who's probably in the mix, they really never governed. They were senators or congressmen. Governor Whitmer actually governed a big state, how to maintain a budget, how to maintain order. And another thing Biden is trying to push in this election is how inept Trump was at handling coronavirus. And that's going to be his number one priority. And Governor Whitmer, in Democrats' eyes, did a great job. You know, they were hit hard with the coronavirus, and they got the numbers down really low today. So that's why I think he will pick her. Now, why it will backfire is a couple of reasons. Number one, he needs the African-American vote. But he's old school. He's like 78 years old. He's been in the Democratic Party for years. He voted for segregation. I mean, he's an old school Democrat. And the old school Democrats just take the African-American vote for granted. Like he said on Charlemagne's, an African-American radio show, if you don't vote for me, you ain't black, which offended the black host, actually. And then he said again, just recently, you know, the Latino community is different than the black community. The black community isn't diverse. The Latino community has a lot of diversity. So basically he said, black people are all the same, and they're going to vote for me, or they're not black. Which will work with maybe with the older African Americans, but the younger African Americans that I know, that's offensive. That is highly offensive. And if he doesn't pick a black running mate, they ain't going out to vote for him. They may not vote for Trump, but they're not voting for Biden. And the reason he has this mentality, it goes all the way back to Margaret Sanger. I spoke about her in a couple of videos. Margaret Sanger, the founder of Planned Parenthood. Before she founded Planned Parenthood, she started the Negro Project. And she would go to KKK rallies. And again, if you haven't watched my videos, the KKK, it's a fact, was started by the Democratic Party. So she was a strong Democrat. And she would go to these Democrat KKK rallies and talk about the Negro race, how she wants to exterminate them. And they cheer on. The KKK loved Margaret Sanger. Now I've known this for years. I made a video years ago on a different site, Rob the Blue Collar Guy, about racism in America, and I exposed her. But now it's coming out with the internet. A lot of people are familiar who Margaret Sanger is. So Planned Parenthood is starting to take her name off of buildings. They know she was a racist. But not only did she say, let's put these abortion mills in black communities, which 90% of Planned Parenthoods are in black communities, are targeting the black race. She also said the only way we're going to convince black people that to love their family is to kill their babies and have smaller families is if we get a couple trusted black reverends in the community, pay them off basically. So you have for years the Reverend Al Sharpton, Reverend Jesse Jackson's basically sellouts to the black community because they're taking all this money from the Democrat Party, all this money from Planned Parenthood, telling them who to vote for. And even Barack Obama was one of the biggest benefiters his whole political career from Planned Parenthood. I believe he's a brilliant politician, and if he thought that Joe Biden needed an African-American vice president, he would tell him. But he knows they need Michigan as well, and I think he is under the belief that if him and Michelle go out and tell African-American people to vote for Joe Biden, they will follow in lockstep like good little soldiers. And that's their belief. We got Jesse Jackson, Al Sharpton, we got all these people telling the black people how to vote. But I'm telling you, there's a movement amongst African Americans, and it's called Walk Away. Check out hashtag Walk Away. And a lot of them, with the internet and the age of information, they're seeing that the Democrat Party is actually the racist party holding them down. So they're not going to get that 90% that they wanted. And once they see that he doesn't pick those 3 highly qualified African American women, that's all everyone's talking about. I don't hear Governor Whitmer's name mentioned anymore. I don't hear Elizabeth Warren. All I hear is Karen Bass, Susan Rice, and Kamala Harris. That's all I hear. So I think when the young, I'm talking 20 to 30-year-olds, hear that, they're going to be disappointed, and they're going to say, yeah, he's a racist. And they're not, he's just counting on our vote. And he's not going to get the turnout. And then once Trump starts advertising on black radio, and he has hundreds of black pastors that support him because they're not listening to what people are saying he's saying. They're seeing what he's doing. That he brought African American unemployment down to the lowest in the history. That he's offering school choice. But most importantly, the criminal justice reform bill he signed freed thousands of young African Americans who would have been in there for life because of Joe Biden's crime bill in 1994. So once people start hearing this, I will not be surprised if they get less than 80% of the vote. And if they get less than 80% of the African American vote, it's a landslide. So my prediction is Joe Biden selects Governor Gretchen Whitmer from Michigan as his vice president, and Donald J. Trump wins in a landslide. And if I'm wrong, I'm deleting this video, so don't get mad at me. God bless. Stay Catholic.